It's almost difficult to define the scale of what has just occurred. Summons have flown out overnight. We've discussed the Biden autopen scandal, but wait now for a minute. Because Republicans have closed in on their targets, a new group of suspects, and one name jumps off the page. A Clinton World insider, a DC power player, a now, not so mysterious figure. It will be to you, and you know why? Because the mainstream media won't cover her. They won't touch it with a 20-foot pole because she's right at the epicenter of the biggest political fraud of the century, the biggest scandal we have ever seen. This isn't just about a forged signature anymore. This is more about who orchestrated the cover-up, who executed it, why they did it, and how deep the machine actually goes. You need to strap in here because I have waited for months to get the information that allows me to put this out to you, and it just came out of Congress itself. Oh man, this one you are going to absolutely enjoy because Hillary never saw it coming. What happened, right, when Biden was on vacation? Oh, you wait until the end for a chilling twist that could connect this figure to the entire anti-Trump machine. And one person today ain't sleeping. She ain't going to have such a good day because, Hillary, one of your confidants, found herself right in the center of a big mess now, didn't she? And then she makes the mistake of commenting on it, and we found it. Oh, man. Y'all know I love doing this job, right? These days like today is what gives me all the drive and energy to continue to do this day after day. Because we saw this picture, right? White House staffers waiting for President Trump to show up. But see, look at this picture slightly different. Because that was your U.S. government. De facto government, at least as many are claiming, and now the evidence coming out after the Hur tapes that there was more reality to this picture than most perceived. Now we got a little housekeeping to do first, such as Media Matters. You know, there was a lawsuit between Elon Musk against Media Matters because he didn't like what Media Matters did, which was take top advertisers and turn them against X. Oh, there was no problem when Twitter was in charge, but when Elon took it over, they came full throttle. Media Matters, as you know, funded by George Soros, continued Twitter's commitment to transparency. As top advertisers on Twitter, your brand risks association with the platform amplifying hate, extremism, health misinformation, and conspiracy theorists, and so you, advertiser, should not be providing them money anymore because we don't like free speech. We like one-sided speech. Brands should force Twitter to uphold content policy. How would they force it? By not providing advertising dollars. Well, now you found yourself in the middle of an investigation, didn't you? Because the FTC has taken up the matter. Oh, boo-hoo. I love when I see this stuff happening. It was only one element of what I saw happen yesterday before we get to this story. I cannot wait to bring you. There's a lot of responsibility in journalism. And there's stories that I know that I have framed up, but I haven't seen enough references to bring them to you, to validate the argument. Well, that was until yesterday. Wow, I'm just drooling to bring you this one. Senate votes to overturn, a little housekeeping, California's EV mandate. We're going to be all electric vehicles. Well, the Senate just told you no. Another small victory. I love this statement, though. A bipartisan 51-44 vote in Senate Hey, you're stretching the truth. I get it. There was one Democrat who voted for it, so I guess you can call it bipartisan. That's kind of a stretch of the definition. And of course, where will this end up? In court. And in court. And everything ends up in court. It's continual. It's nonstop. Gwen Wilcox, remember she got fired by President Trump, the National Labor Relations Board head, and it went to trial. We covered the trial of Judge Howell's response to this lawsuit, where she called Trump a king or a dictator. Well, that too made it to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court said, you know what? Sorry, she's fired. So Trump got a few victories yesterday, didn't he? Oh, he's going to be drooling over the information I'm going to present. I hope this gets it right to his desk, because I did all the research necessary to frame the biggest story of the century together. Trump administration deportations flight to South Sudan. We covered this yesterday. Violated the court order. This court order, to be more specific, coming out of the District of Massachusetts. Remember, they were deserved reasonable fear trials. And how dare you? And they got to remand in your custody until they have their reasonable fear trials. Their victims didn't get the trial, but of course these folks do, right? Unquestionably violated a court order when it abruptly deported 7 men to South Sudan. We covered this, but Trump went off on it yesterday, stating a federal judge in Boston who knew absolutely nothing about the situation, or anything else for that matter, has ordered that 8 of the most violent criminals on earth curtail their journey to South Sudan, and instead, remember, their home countries don't want them. That's how bad these folks are. He would not allow these monsters to proceed to their final destination. This is not the premise under which I was elected president, which was to protect our nation. The judges are absolutely out of control. They're hurting our country, and they know nothing about particular situations or what they are doing. And this must change immediately. Hopefully the Supreme Court of the United States will put an end to the quagmire that has been caused by the radical left. If this has not worked out quickly, and the world is watching, our country will be under full siege, and he is absolutely, unequivocally right. Because if you can't stop them, and they're gonna stay here, then why won't they continue to flood in? And these aren't good people. But now we have, before we get to Hillary, we got to cover Obama. Right now, Republicans in Congress are trying to push through a bill that would put millions of Americans at risk of losing their health care. They want to cut federal funding for Medicaid, take away tax credits to help more people afford coverage, and raise costs for working class families. Oh, thank you for jumping in, Brock. Let's get more people afraid of non-reality. Because the cuts in Medicaid are not what you are portraying them to be. That means some of the most vulnerable Americans, families, the elderly, folks with disabilities won't be able to get the life-saving treatment, medication, or care they need. These are people you know, so let your voice be heard and reach out to your senators now to let them know how much this will impact you. Don't worry about the fact of what Russ Vought said, what Trump said.
So this is a very, very important look. We've had a culture of fiscal futility in this country going on 30 years. We haven't seen anything like this since 1997. Adjusted for inflation with the work requirements in 1997, that was an $800 billion bill. This is a nearly $2 trillion mandatory savers. We haven't seen anything like this. It's history. And so
a mandatory $2 trillion mandatory savers. You heard that, right? But they want to twist this. They're going to take away Medicare from everyone you know. Every Democrat just voted against tax cuts. I'm going to show you here. Pay raises and more. This was just put out by President Trump just yesterday. Did you read the recap of this? Just so we put it into a slightly different, more accurate perspective of what this actually is. The largest tax cut in history. This means $13,300 more for American families and wage increases up to $11,000 for workers with double-digit percentage decrease to their tax bill. That's horrible. No tax on tips, no tax on overtime. That's horrible. Nobody's going to make any more money. Everybody's going to starve. Raising wages. Stronger border security. 18,000 new immigration officials. And pay raises for them. Protecting Medicaid for American citizens who need it, going directly to Obama's point, right? Because they don't like this for one reason. This ends taxpayer-funded benefits for at least 1.4 million illegal immigrants who are gaming the system and requires able-bodied Americans to work if they receive benefits. Oh, no, you can't do that. You can't do that. We just got to sit around. We need our money. You mean if I'm able to work, I have to work? Well, yes. And pay raises for troops. Whoever thought about that? Why would we want to build our military? Modernizing air traffic control, because we've had no incidents surrounding that recently, have we? Revolutionizing the nation's defense, the Golden Dome, which I told you I fully 1,000% support. Protecting family farmers so that the mega greedy don't take over farmland. The bill prevents the greedy death tax from hitting 2 million family-owned farms. God bless America. Absolutely. Unleashing American energy dominance so we're not so bound to foreign adversaries. And reversing runaway spending. This delivers $1.6 trillion in mandatory savings, the most in U.S. history and the largest deficit reduction in 30 years. Yeah. Justice requested, justice served. Just like this tape. You remember the lady who spit on Ed Martin? Oh, yeah. It was on tape. I'll play it for you again. It's disgusting, but it happened. In a nice little interview here, this lady comes up, and there she goes. You saw it. And then she had the genius idea that I should broadcast on what I just broke the law doing. Yeah, that was me that spit in your face in front of your not USDC for DC courthouse. That absolutely, definitely spit in your face on camera. Hi, hello. A pleasure to hawk a degraded, pithy white foam spit on your face. I only apologize that this city left me so dehydrated, unable to get water, and could produce more to stain and drip down your face. That's glamorous. Well, FAFO, because they gotcha. The below signed affidavit is a criminal investigation and arrest warrant for, well, the same lady that just posted on exactly what she did. But I guess that's the mind of the left, huh? Let me just brag about this a little bit more. But that gets our housekeeping done. Because here's where things get really interesting. Interesting would be an understatement, in my opinion. Why do I state that? The American people deserve to know the truth about what happened in the Biden White House. Who was in charge? Who gave the orders? Who orchestrated the cover-up? We want answers. Because when you dig through the digital paper trail, and you know I work day and night to do that, there's one name that shows up over and over and over in the background. And it's one you're never supposed to connect the dots about. Do you know who it is? And guess who now suddenly has gone silent? Well, sort of. Except when you comment on the wrong post and a subpoena flies out, a summons flies out for you. Now I have everything I need to bring the entire story to you. And I've been waiting for months to do so. But I deploy what's called responsible journalism, which means I need more than just one source before I bring you anything. And after months and months of research and collection of data, what you're about to be exposed to is something the mainstream media simply won't cover. One of the deepest Clinton insiders you can have, best buddies with Podesta. Ooh, the wagons have circled. The Republicans have now identified you. And sorry, not sorry. Your world's about to change. And that's the story I'm going to bring you here in 1 minute. Now, before I do, if you like what I'm doing, you like what actual responsible journalism looks like and the way I bring it to you, at very least, I hope you'll subscribe. If you're new here, welcome home. This is what actual research and reference news sounds like. It's not something you get a whole lot anymore. Call me old school if you want, but I'm not going to change how I do it. Those of you who've joined as members, thank you. It's one means of supporting me, and it means the world to me. It keeps these lights and cameras on. I wish all this was free, but it's not. The super thanks that you provide on a daily basis keeps things rolling forward because I want to make this bigger, better, and better because there's not many of us left anymore. So much so that we created a whole platform for you. I'll flash it on the screen real quick. It's called restrictedrepublic.com. Lisa Haven and I created that out of our own pocketbooks. Yeah, some people just go out to dinner, Lisa and I buckle down, and we do more broadcasts, exclusive content just for you. The stuff that's no longer allowed to be told to you for whatever reason. Don't understand it. We didn't understand it. We didn't accept it. So we created a platform with no sponsors, no advertisers, beholden to no one but you, our audience. That is, again, restrictedrepublic.com. I'd love to see your name show up on our subscriber list today. I hope you'll get there. Because what we do is take it and reinvest it into you through more journalism, the way it was meant to be. Now you want to hear an example of that, the quintessential example of that? Sit back down, hold on, because things are about to get really interesting. Now, I'm sure by now you can gauge my level of excitement. All surrounding the autopen scandal, the biggest scandal in U.S. political history, bar none. Now, using the autopen is not illegal. It's a process used by almost every president. Trump has defined what can and can't be done with the autopen, but nonetheless, this centers around Biden. Was he aware of every document that was being signed? It's a big question. After her tapes, people questioned it even more. And now, the wagons are circling. Donald Trump called for it. It was people that knew he was cognitively impaired and that took over the autopen. This is treason at the highest level, he claims. Something very severe should happen to these treasonous thugs that wanted to destroy our country. It's an open statement. He's not happy. What does this reverse? Well, now we're finding out from the very man who now has an investigation about the lady who spit on him. He gave you one indicator, but this is one of many. Before I tell you exactly, because I can now, because Congress just made it official, who they're looking at. Listen in here to Ed Martin for a moment.
I had a whistleblower in my office 10 days ago, senior Democrat, saying, look, it was these three people that controlled access and they were making money off of it. I don't know if I believe it yet, but the point is, I think we have to get to the bottom of it for.
You think? Whistleblowers come out. Another little fold to the saga. Yeah, it's these three people who were doing, was that signature for sale? Because that's what Ed Martin just claimed. I always put the facts and evidence. So subpoenas fly out May 22nd. That was yesterday. To many people, the physician of Joe Biden asking several questions about his medical assessments, trying to determine was he cognizant or not? What did you know or didn't know? What did you hide? What did you disclose? And then this one came out. This is the most interesting because this is the one I've been waiting for. Congress of the United States Committee on Oversight and Government Reform, also dated May 22nd, to Miss Neera Tanden, former Director, Domestic Policy Council. Now, that would fall on deaf ears for most. The mainstream media shuddered over this. Oh, no. Oh, no. We have a problem. And why do they have a problem? Oh, the history is epic. Neera Tanden tapped for OMB director. I'm here today because of social programs, she once stated. She later had to pull back her nomination. That didn't mean she left the White House. Oh no, she got even closer to Biden. Is this the aide who abused Joe Biden's autopen? Many publications asking, but I'll give you proof and evidence of why they're making that declaration. All people are innocent until proven guilty. So I'll report and you decide. Neera Tanden, Director of Office of Management nominee. A letter from her withdrawing her nomination, Joe Biden accepting the withdrawal, but that's not the interesting part. Oh no, because she still found a role within the Biden administration. But she knows a lot of people. Oh, she's really close to a lot of people, and she was at the epicenter of the Russia gate fraud. She's not a fan of President Trump, so just put it mildly. She's not a fan of many people. She's not a very nice lady, according to those on the inside, and I'll show you their quotes. at least who I believe they're talking about, but by the time I'm done, you'll see why I believe that. Veteran Russiagator eyed as Biden's next chief of staff. She bumped around a lot of roles, but she pissed off a lot of people, too. She still ends up on the right hand of Biden, though. One name the political Washington ought to keep its eye on, according to a highly sourced Democratic Party insider, is that of longtime Hillary Clinton confidant and former think tank executive Neera Tanden. Tanden, like Rice, and by the way, this is coming off of this opinion piece from AsiaTimes.com. Unfortunately, in our media ecosystem, you have to go overseas to actually be able to connect all the dots because our media ecosystem doesn't want you to connect these dots. But real researchers, like me, I'm going to pat myself on my own back because this is what I've been waiting for a long time. Find everything. Tanden, like Rice, is alleged to be somewhat of a terror to staffers, and that becomes important. Keep that in your mind right now. A terror to staffers, because it goes into a comment that just came out from one of those staffers. But in Washington, the strategy of kiss up, kick down rarely fails. And after Tanden's nomination to run OMB went nowhere, she was rewarded with a position as White House Senior Advisor and Staff Secretary, where she has, predictably, stepped on a number of toes. This is all connected dots. And I loved doing that as a kid. I guess I still love doing it as an adult. Inside the White House, Neera Tanden has taken a far more assertive role in determining what papers make it to the president's desk than her predecessor as staff secretary, according to several people familiar with the dynamic. That's interesting. Determine what papers made it to the president's desk. Okay. And this week, the White House announced that Tanden's longtime benefactor, John Podesta, will be joining the administration as senior advisor to the president for clean energy innovation implementation. So those in control of putting those papers on Biden's desk, according to this publication, are now Tanden and Podesta, both Hillary confidants. Okay. Podesta himself, a former White House chief of staff under Bill Clinton, is said to be close to the former protege. Together, Podesta and Tanden built the Center for American Progress, CAP, in a neoliberal behemoth with an annual budget of nearly $50 million. Well, what did CAP do? CAP, well, there's an entire website created about them, the Trump-Russia Connection, the Moscow Project. Oh, you pretty much just put your big blueprint that you're not a big fan of President Trump's, now are you? Confidant of Hillary Clinton. And let's go, because I always give you facts and evidence. Months and months and months of research, all in one broadcast, sure, investigating Benghazi, but also investigating Russia intervening in elections for Trump and blackmail of him coming from Neera Tanden. Even if this is true, hasn't the dossier been mostly proven to be true? I know, she's on the left. There's something that doesn't fire up here. That's called facts, figures, and reality. But outside of that, it's amazing how uncomfortable the likes of Byron York are happy to run interference for Russians intervening in our election. This is one of the major propagators of the entire storyline. What part of the dossier has been disproven? I will wait, and I will answer all of it. There may be a couple shreds of accidental truth in there, but it's a fraud. It's a hoax. It was paid for. It was bought. It was meant to bring down President Trump, and there you are. What parts of the dossier has been disproven? So I think I closed my case on the ties to Russiagate here. I think I closed my case on the connections to... No, I'll go further for you. I'm going to go further. Corroboration zero. An Inspector General's report reveals the Steele dossier was always a joke. That was by Rolling Stone, even. Well, let's go back here. Veteran Russiagator eyed as Biden's next chief of staff. Okay. I wonder what James Comer is responding to here. This is all coming out now. So Ed Martin announcing that we have a whistleblower that's given us information on 3 staffers. And now James Comer.
And clearly from that interview, which was many, many months prior to the heavy use of the autopen, Joe Biden wasn't capable of making decisions. He wasn't coherent. We think we've identified who the staffers are. Jason, you all have done great work with that over at Heritage Oversight.
Wait, Heritage Oversight. And we've identified who the staffers are also. Okay, so now Ed Martin circled the wagon. Comer's circling the wagon. Oversight's always been circling the wagon. It's just people are finally catching up, but they move a little bit slow. Donald Trump's been calling for it. What did he state here? The U.S. is wise to these scoundrels and crooks. Interesting. Who demanded a full pardon for Sleepy Joe, leading the way? It's almost impossible to reach their money goals. The USA is wise to these scoundrels and crooks. Also, why did the autopen give Schiff a pardon? Biden knew nothing about it. Who operated the autopen? And he said that time and time again. This is the biggest question being asked in D.C., and now we're showing exactly that they didn't forget. It just took them a while to get all the information. They needed to scare a few whistleblowers in, didn't they? And it appears it worked. Trump just 2 days ago, and I read it to you. This is treason at the highest level. Who controlled the autopen? So let's go forward a little bit more. Hi, Hillary. I know it's not going to be a good night's sleep tonight for you. I get it. Every time I see your picture, it's not a good night of sleep for me. It terrifies me. But I digress. Neera Tanden on Clinton email server, they wanted to get away with it. Neera Tanden again. Neera Tanden. Keeps coming up, doesn't it? Biden sources suspect key aide may have abused autopen as Trump's far more restrictive signing rules revealed. Okay. Everyone was suspicious of this individual, exceeding their authority when claiming to speak for the president. But no one actually would say it because they were terrified by someone. I think the aide was using the autopen as standard and past protocol. There is no clarity on who actually approved what the President of the United States was signing or the aide was putting forth on the desk. And so far we know that Tanden and Podesta, according to what I just read to you, were responsible for what hit Biden's desk. But the question is, was Biden at the desk? Tanden, like Rice, is alleged to be somewhat of a terror, remember, to staffers, but in Washington, the strategy of kiss up and kick down rarely fails. Everyone was suspicious of this individual, exceeding their authority, but were afraid to talk to her. Okay. I feared no one as much as I feared this staffer. Basically, the staffer was the president, the person said. No one ever questioned the staffer. Period. Wow. Well, that's unique, huh? And Ed Martin has a whistleblower who said that, and then Comer has him identified and statements coming out from insiders at the same time? Collection of data. It's always there. More importantly, Neera Tanden states, does this mean everything with the Trump autopen signature is void in this administration and the last? Because there's a lot by autopen in every administration. Some enterprising lawyers may want to sue. If you're at the epicenter of one of the biggest scandals in U.S. history and, you don't want to really put a big light on yourself, maybe you shouldn't comment on it. Just, you have the right? You have the right to free speech. So the Oversight Project came out. The same ones providing Comer and Martin a lot of the information on this autopen scandal. You were White House Staff Secretary when Biden autopen pardons from the golf course. Is this you? Question. And then shortly thereafter, summons fly. Comer makes statement. Ed Martin says we have a whistleblower. You see how Washington works is if you get enough evidence, and it takes a little while to get that evidence, and you start letting everyone know you have the evidence, eventually someone tries to protect their own rear end. And rather than being taken down in the scandal of the century, they decide to start talking. And they talk to the right people. And those people do exactly what they did. Many people being questioned in this case. A doctor. A friend, Anthony Bernal, just so you know. And advisors and aides. But one in particular now resonates through. Because, well, the New York Post didn't really mince too many words here. Biden doctor and Neera... I hate that on New York Post when it does that. So let's just dump it. I think you can read the title for yourself, right? Biden doctor Neera Tanden among 5 summoned by House GOP after ex-president's prostate cancer diagnosis. And let's read the actual summons itself, shall we? I'll go full screen. Miss Neera Tanden. The Committee on Oversight and Government Reform is investigating the role of former senior Biden White House officials in possibly usurping authority from former President Joe Biden and the ramifications of White House staff intent on hiding his rapidly worsening mental and physical faculties. It is now obvious to everyone in the country that Biden was under obvious decline and unfortunately now fighting cancer. In the immediate months after former President Biden's disastrous debate performance in June of 2024, where officials in the House of Representatives, the Senate, and the White House voiced concerns about the president's ability to lead the country, questions continued to mount about who in the White House was actually exercising the authority of the President of the United States. This is a no-holds-barred indictment coming down. These concerns only intensify with reports of Hunter Biden joining staff members and First Lady Biden sitting at the head of the table of cabinet meetings. The question of whether former President Biden executed his duties, and if not, who in fact did, remains an investigative focus of this committee. The audio tapes come out. Now Axios reports that members of former President Biden's cabinet voiced concerns about his ability to respond to a crisis due to his declining health. And the committee remains concerned that you, as both director of the DPC and staff secretary, were involved in running interference on behalf of the former president and perhaps performing duties exclusively reserved for the President of the United States. Given public reporting, the former White House staff aggressively stage managed the former president and focused on minute details to minimize signs of how age has taken a toll on the oldest president in U.S. history. This committee seeks to understand the extent of your influence over the former president and your knowledge of whether the former president was personally discharging the duties of his office. Wow, huh? You see, when I finally get it officially documented by an oversight committee, then I have the validation I need to responsibly bring it to you. Now you're going to make the determination everyone's innocent until proven guilty. I just read you the paper trail, the digital trail. And then I read you what's being accused within the document to Neera Tanden herself from the House Oversight Committee. My friends, Hillary Clinton's not going to sleep well tonight. Oh, she'll escape any arm of justice. She always does. But if you can take the actual folks who are enacting the orders and the inside out, well, then you made a little progress, didn't you? So there's the story that's not being reported to you on mainstream media, and I look forward to seeing each and every one of your comments. Maybe I should ask a question here. Are you sick of this? The lies? The fraud? Watching our republic get shredded from the inside out? I am. Do you believe that this should be prosecuted to the full extent of the law and as quickly as humanly possible? Yes or no? Because I promise you, for many of you, this was very new information. You may have thought this was just some outsider, some minuscule role, but now I hope I framed it in a whole lot different. And these announcements have different teeth than most realize, because these guys, by now, know the information that I just provided you. But that's why you're at the channel, right? Because you get the real story weeks, or if not months, before things actually break loose. Man, I report, you decide. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, throw in the comments. It really shows that this broadcast makes a difference. I'm not here just to report news and walk away. No, I'm here to make an impact, to bring light and reality to dark shadows that have overruled DC for way too long. If we want the great Republic of the United States of America back, people say it has nothing I can do. Yes, there is. Discourse, volume, noise, light. That's what changes things. In abundance, it gets a president elected that we wanted elected by overwhelming majority. Did every single person in the country do something in a political sense to help that? If you tweeted, if you posted on Facebook, if you shared a broadcaster's video who you really appreciate, you did something. You opened the eyes to tell everyone there's more of us than they can imagine. And now that our voices are heard, man, this is what happens. I love you all. Until next time, Godspeed and God bless. Justice Knight, signing out.